because I have been talking about the economy for a long time now, okay? And months ago, when I first started this podcast back in January 2020, I was talking about how the economy was going to get so bad one day that we were going to start looking like Venezuela. And a lot of people did not think that was possible. I'm not calling anybody out, but if you go back and look at the messages that people were leaving me on YouTube, you can see how they were saying, that is not possible. United States has a very good economy. The United States, is the world's reserve currency, so that is never going to happen. And even though at that time it didn't look like it, I was able to see the writing on the wall because of all the information that I was gathering for you guys. Okay, so now we fast forward to this time, and we're seeing how our currency has been devalued. Okay, just in 2020 alone, we already spent over $7 trillion. I don't know if they're gonna add the 2.4 trillion or 2.3 trillion that they just passed to this. That could be very close to $10 trillion in just 1 year. Okay, that's a lot of money. And as you're going to be seeing here just a second, all the money printing, over 20% of it, over 25% of it has just been printed in this year alone. And it's all being printed out of nothing. Of course, that's going to devalue our currency, and that's going to increase the price for the consumer, which, in turn, that means that things are going to be a lot more expensive for you. If people are having trouble right now feeding their families with the prices that we have right now, it's going to be even more difficult later on, down the road. Now, if you remember, I showed you videos of people in Venezuela lining up, for miles and miles, and they were walking. It's not like here in the United States where people are still, even though it's a bad time, it's not so bad that they cannot afford gasoline yet. And they are able to drive to the distribution centers, to the food banks, and just sit there for a very long time just to try to get a box of food. And that's exactly what people are doing. And this is not people who just want a free handout, because if they just was trying to take advantage of any type of system, they would not be sitting out there over 12 hours just trying to get the box of food. These are people who are genuinely in a position where they have to go out there and get that food. Otherwise, they're not going to eat. And, there has been article and video and report after report showing the lines of people, 25,000 in one line, in New York, thousands of people, in Chicago, over 15 blocks away, full of people who are trying to get the little bit that they can get from the food banks and all these other organizations. Now, it seems like there was, more organizations out there trying to help because of the holiday season. Now, it's not clear whether they're going to go away now that the Christmas is over and, New Year's is this weekend, and, they're just going to go ahead and go away because they were only doing it for the holiday season. And all those people are just going to be without help. Now, I can remember exactly when I gave you this report, but I believe it was during the summer that I gave you the report about food banks warning that they could fail by the end of 2021. If I'm not mistaken, that was in the summer. Now, 6 months from that has come, all right? And actually that collapse or that fail of the food bank has actually accelerated for 12 months, which is something that I'll be talking about here in just a second. I'll be showing the article that is saying that they're going to eventually run out of food because the amount of people that they could serve actually increased more than they thought it was possible. And not only that, they're running out of food. So how a regular food bank usually, I guess you can say functions, is that they get donations from the big grocery chains, for example, Walmart or, Kroger or whatever's out there. They get those donations and then they turn around and they give it to the people. The grocery stores wants to go ahead and get that off their shelves because it's close to being expired. And they, of course, they cannot sell it and it's going to go bad. So, that's where the food banks step in and say, a month before it expires, give it to us so we can give it away. It's going to go to the trash anyway. So, they agree, they give it for free. And then that's how food banks operate. So lately, since we have had all these shortages, food grocery stores have not been able to just give it away for free, because there's shortages of stuff on the shelves. Everything's being wiped out because they're calling it panic buying, but actually there's a supply chain disruption that has been happening for many months now. But the point is that the grocery stores are no longer able to just give away free food. So what the food banks have been doing is that they have actually grabbed money that they have been donated to them, and they're going and buying large amounts of food so they can just give it away. So that trend is continuing for months and months at a time. Technically this entire year. I guess you can start since probably April or maybe even May. Or let's just bring it to June, just so we can have a 6-month span. In the past 6 months, they have spent so much money that they're warning now that if they don't get help from the government, they won't be able to give any food away. And not only that, they're running out of food as it is. So even if they were to get help from the government, they would not be able to stock up their shelves, their trucks, to just give it away. All right, so I bring it back to what I said in that video. What is going to happen once those food banks fail, and all those millions of people who are depending on that no longer have a safety net? In my opinion, all those millions of people should become farmers by the time spring comes around. Of course, there's some people who live in apartments, probably most of them, because these are in major cities, they tend to be. But the point is that you can do things right now to better position yourself to not have to suffer that, okay? So I want to go ahead and get into the first headline, because you're going to be able to see how we're getting really close to what Venezuela looks like, okay? And before I get there, there's going to be some charts that I'm going to show you so you can look at the difference, because I've warned about this. As I've been warning about this Venezuela-like scenario for months, and I've said it here in Amendment Survival Show. But now the experts are coming out and warning the same thing that I've been saying for months. So, even though I'm ahead of the game, hopefully you were paying attention and you position yourself to where, even if there is a collapse in the money supply, you're still going to be able to feed your family, because really that's what it boils down to. All right, which is going to be something that I'm going to be explaining a little bit further once I give you the charts.